Imagine an island where evolution took a completely different path, where 90% of all life exists nowhere else on Earth, where stone forests pierce the sky like ancient cathedrals and forests burn crimson without flame. This is Madagascar, a place so extraordinary that scientists call it the eighth continent. 400 million years ago, Madagascar broke away from Africa and drifted into the Indian Ocean like a biological ark. What followed was one of the most remarkable evolutionary experiments our planet has ever witnessed. While the rest of the world developed familiar patterns of life, Madagascar became a laboratory of the impossible. Here, primates sing like whales, trees store water in their trunks for decades, and entire ecosystems exist in pockets smaller than city blocks. But Madagascar's wonders aren't just biological. This island nation holds landscapes that defy imagination. Stone forests that could house giants, beaches where turquoise waters meet forests of emerald, and mountains that rise like sleeping titans from endless plains. From the razor-sharp limestone pinnacles of the Singi to the ethereal avenue of the baobabs, every corner of this island tells a story of isolation, adaptation, and breathtaking beauty. Today, we're taking you on a journey through Madagascar's 12 most spectacular wonders. Places where nature has written its most daring poetry in stone, water, and life itself. These aren't just destinations. They're living proof that our planet still holds secrets, still has the power to leave us speechless. From ancient forests where lemurs call through mist-shrouded canopies to geological formations that look like they belong on another planet, each wonder represents a chapter in Madagascar's extraordinary story. The Analamadzautra section alone harbors over 100 species of birds, including the Madagascar blue pigeon, whose iridescent feathers shimmer like liquid mercury in the dappled sunlight. Number 12. Andasibe-Mantadia National Park. Deep in the heart of Madagascar's eastern rainforests, where morning mist clings to ancient trees like whispered secrets, lies one of the world's most hauntingly beautiful soundscapes. Andasibe-Mantadia National Park stretches across 155 square kilometers of pristine montane rainforest. But what makes this place truly extraordinary isn't just what you see, it's what you hear. Every dawn, as the first light filters through the canopy, the forest erupts in a symphony unlike anywhere else on Earth. The haunting wails of the Indri lemurs, Madagascar's largest primates, echo through the trees like ancient songs. These whale-like calls can be heard from over 2 kilometers away, creating a natural cathedral of sound that has remained unchanged for millions of years. Local Malagasy people believe the Indri are their ancestors, singing eternal laments for their lost paradise. The park's landscape is a masterpiece of vertical diversity. Towering trees draped in emerald moss create a living tunnel system where orchids bloom in impossible colors, and chameleons no bigger than your thumb navigate highways of branches. But it's the forest's ancient architecture that truly captivates. Some trees here are over 400 years old, their massive trunks creating natural amphitheaters where light and shadow dance in eternal choreography. Strangler figs wrap around their hosts like living sculptures, while tree ferns unfurl their fronds like green umbrellas 40 feet above the forest floor. The very air seems alive with possibility, thick with the scent of earth and growing things, punctuated by the sudden flash of a Madagascar paradise flycatcher's tail. Scientists have identified over 500 species of plants in this relatively small area, many found nowhere else on Earth. The forest floor itself is a tapestry of fallen leaves, decomposing timber, and new growth, creating a cycle of life so complete and self-sustaining that it operates like a biological clock that has ticked undisturbed for millennia. In western Madagascar, where the dry, deciduous forests meet endless savannas, Ankara-Fonseca National Park unfolds like a living tapestry of amber and gold. This 1,350 square kilometer wilderness represents one of Madagascar's most precious ecosystems, where massive baobab trees stand sentinel over a landscape that changes with the light like a master painter's canvas. The park's centerpiece is Lake Ravalobe, a pristine body of water that mirrors the sky so perfectly it seems to double the world. At sunset, the lake becomes a sheet of molten gold, reflecting the silhouettes of endemic birds and the distinctive profiles of Madagascar's iconic baobab trees. The surrounding dry forest comes alive with sounds, the haunting calls of the cockerel's sifaka, one of Madagascar's most beautiful lemurs, whose white fur catches the dying light like spun silk. What makes Ankara-Fonseca truly spectacular is its incredible biodiversity packed into distinct microclimates. The park harbors 8 species of lemurs, including the endangered golden brown mouse lemur, whose enormous eyes seem to hold the wisdom of ages. The dry forest itself is an architectural marvel. Massive conifera trees with their bottle-shaped trunks store water for the dry season, while pachypodiums thrust their spiny arms skyward like natural sculptures. The park's bird life is legendary among ornithologists. Over 120 species call this place home, including the Madagascar fish eagle, whose piercing cry echoes across the lake at dawn. The white-breasted mist-shrouded, a ground-dwelling bird found nowhere else on Earth, picks through the forest floor like a feathered archaeologist, while Madagascar bee-eaters flash their brilliant colors through the canopy like living jewels. During the dry season, the forest transforms into a cathedral of gold and amber, where every leaf seems to glow with internal light. The massive tamarind trees create natural galleries where light filters through their feathery canopies, creating patterns that shift and dance throughout the day. At night, the park becomes a different world entirely, the dark forest alive with the calls of Madagascar's nocturnal wildlife, the lake reflecting stars like scattered diamonds. Rising from Madagascar's central highlands like a lost city from another planet, Isolo National Park presents one of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth. This 815 square kilometer wilderness of sculpted sandstone has been carved by wind and water over 200 million years into a maze of canyons, natural pools, and towering formations that defy belief. The park's centerpiece is the Jurassic Sandstone Massif, a geological masterpiece that tells the story of Madagascar's ancient past in layers of red, yellow, and white stone. Deep canyons slice through the landscape like wounds in the earth, their walls rising hundreds of meters straight up, creating natural amphitheaters where the only sound is the whisper of wind through stone. The famous Piscine Naturelle, a series of emerald pools fed by waterfalls, creates an oasis so surreal it seems like a mirage made real. What makes Isolo truly extraordinary is how life has adapted to this harsh environment. The park harbors over 400 species of plants, many found nowhere else on Earth. Pachypodiums thrust their spiny arms from cracks in the rock like botanical sculptures, while Aloe isoloensis blooms in impossible reds and oranges against the pale stone. The endemic Isolo grasshopper has evolved to perfectly match the sandstone's coloration, making it nearly invisible against the rock. The landscape changes dramatically with the light and weather. At sunrise, the sandstone formations glow like massive lanterns, their surfaces painted in shades of gold and rose that seem to emanate from within the stone itself. During the rainy season, waterfalls cascade down the cliff faces, creating temporary rivers that carve new patterns in the ancient rock. The famous window of Isolo, a natural stone arch, frames the surrounding landscape like a geological photograph. The park's canyons create their own weather systems. The Namaza and Malasso canyons are cool refuges where endemic palms and ferns thrive in the protected microclimates. These green corridors wind through the desert landscape like secret gardens, their walls dripping with moisture even in the dry season. Ancient burial caves of the Bara people dot the cliff faces, their entrances guarded by sacred taboos that have protected these sites for centuries. On Madagascar's northeast coast, where the Indian Ocean meets the world's largest remaining lowland rainforest, Massawa National Park sprawls across 2,400 square kilometers of pure biological treasure. This UNESCO World Heritage Site represents the crown jewel of Madagascar's protected areas, encompassing everything from pristine beaches to montane forests, creating a complete ecosystem that exists nowhere else on Earth. The park's coastline is a masterpiece of natural architecture. The Massawa Peninsula curves into the Indian Ocean like a green finger, its beaches a perfect blend of white sand and turquoise water backed by rainforest that tumbles right to the water's edge. Here, where land meets sea, you can witness one of nature's most remarkable transitions, from coral reefs teeming with tropical fish to rainforest canopies alive with lemurs, all within a few hundred meters. The rainforest itself is a living cathedral. Primary forest stretches unbroken for kilometers, its canopy so dense that walking through it feels like moving through a green underwater world. Massive hardwood trees, some over 300 years old, create natural skyscrapers where red-ruffed lemurs, found only in this region, swing through the upper stories like red-furred acrobats. The forest floor is a carpet of fallen leaves, decomposing timber and new growth, creating a cycle of life so complete it operates like a biological perpetual motion machine. What makes Massowala truly spectacular is its incredible vertical diversity. The park rises from sea level to over 1,300 meters, creating distinct ecological zones that each harbor unique species. The coastal forests are dominated by massive tavy trees and traveler's palms, while the montane zones are home to endemic orchids and carnivorous plants. Over 2,800 species of plants have been identified in the park, with new species still being discovered regularly. The park's marine component is equally extraordinary. The coral reefs off the Massowala Peninsula are among the most diverse in the Indian Ocean, home to humpback whales, spinner dolphins, and over 300 species of fish. The beaches serve as nesting sites for green and hawksbill turtles, whose tracks in the sand tell stories of ancient migration patterns that predate human civilization. In the far north of Madagascar, where volcanic peaks pierce the sky and mist clings to ancient forests, Amber Mountain National Park creates a world unto itself. This 18,200-hectare sanctuary, known locally as Montagne d'Ambre, rises from the surrounding dry landscape like a green island in a sea of gold, its peaks catching clouds and creating their own weather systems. The park's dramatic topography is the result of ancient volcanic activity that shaped the landscape into a series of peaks, crater lakes, and deep valleys. The highest point reaches 1,475 meters, creating a montane ecosystem that exists nowhere else in northern Madagascar. The volcanic soil, enriched by millions of years of decomposition, supports a forest so lush and diverse it seems almost impossibly green. What makes Amber Mountain truly magical is its waterfalls. The park contains some of Madagascar's most spectacular cascades, including the three-tiered Antankarana Falls, where water plunges over 80 meters down volcanic cliffs into emerald pools below. The sound of falling water echoes through the forest like a constant symphony, creating a soundtrack that defines the park's atmosphere. During the rainy season, dozens of seasonal waterfalls appear, turning the forest into a living water garden. The park's endemic wildlife is legendary. The Amber Mountain rock thrush, found nowhere else on Earth, builds its nests in the cliff faces, while the Amber Mountain fork-marked lemur, discovered only recently, moves through the canopy like a ghostly acrobat. The forests harbor over 25 species of reptiles, including chameleons so small they can sit on your fingernail, and others so perfectly camouflaged they seem to materialize from the bark itself. The park's botanical diversity is equally extraordinary. Endemic orchids bloom in impossible colors and patterns, while carnivorous plants dot the forest floor like botanical aliens. The massive tree ferns create natural umbrellas 40 feet above the ground, their fronds unfurling like green fireworks. During the flowering season, the forest canopy explodes in colors, red, yellow, orange, and purple blooms, creating a tapestry that changes daily as different species come into flower. Number 7. Marojejy National Park. Deep in northeastern Madagascar, where ancient mountains rise like sleeping giants from endless forests, Marojejy National Park protects one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. This 55,500-hectare wilderness encompasses an entire mountain range, from lowland rainforest to alpine scrubland, creating a vertical journey through evolutionary time that spans millions of years of natural history. The park's centerpiece is Mount Marojejy, a 2,132-meter peak that dominates the landscape like a natural cathedral. The mountain slopes create a living laboratory of evolution, where altitude changes create distinct ecological zones, each harboring species found nowhere else on Earth. The journey from the base to the summit is like traveling through multiple continents, each elevation revealing new wonders. The lowland rainforest at the mountain's base is a world of giants. Massive hardwood trees, some over 400 years old, create a canopy so dense that walking through it feels like moving through a green underwater world. Here, the endangered silky sifika, one of the world's rarest primates, moves through the trees like a white-furred angel. With only a few hundred individuals remaining, seeing one of these extraordinary creatures in the wild is like witnessing a living miracle. As you ascend the mountain, the forest transforms. The montane zone is dominated by massive tree ferns and endemic palms, creating a prehistoric landscape where you half expect to see dinosaurs. Over 2,000 species of plants have been identified in the park, with new species still being discovered regularly. The endemic Marojejy dracaena, with its sword-like leaves, creates natural sculptures against the misty mountain backdrop. The park's summit zone is perhaps the most extraordinary. Above 1,800 meters, the forest gives way to alpine scrubland and endemic heathers, creating a landscape that seems almost alien. The views from the peak are breathtaking, unbroken forests stretching to the horizon in every direction, with the Indian Ocean visible on clear days. The summit is often shrouded in clouds, creating a mystical atmosphere where the mountain seems to float above the world. And just when you think it can't get better, wait until you see number 1. Along a dirt road in western Madagascar, where the African sky meets endless horizons, stands one of the most photographed and spiritually moving landscapes on Earth. The Avenue of the Baobabs, a grove of ancient giants that have stood sentinel over this land for over 800 years, creates a natural cathedral that transforms with the light into something transcendent. These aren't just trees, they're living monuments to time itself. The largest baobabs along this stretch of road reach heights of 30 meters, their massive trunks storing up to 120,000 liters of water, enough to sustain an entire village through the dry season. Their distinctive, bottle-shaped silhouettes create one of nature's most recognizable skylines, each tree a unique sculpture carved by centuries of wind, rain, and sun. The avenue's magic lies in its transformation throughout the day. At dawn, the baobabs emerge from morning mist like ancient spirits awakening. The low light sets their massive trunks aglow, creating silhouettes that seem to dance against the pale sky. Local Malagasy people believe these trees house ancestral spirits, and watching the sunrise here, it's easy to understand why. But it's at sunset that the avenue of the baobabs becomes truly otherworldly. As the sun descends toward the horizon, the sky erupts in colors that seem too intense to be real. Deep oranges, brilliant reds and purples that paint the baobabs in silhouette against the flaming sky. The trees become black sculptures against the colored canvas, their branches reaching toward the stars like prayers made visible. The avenue tells a story of both resilience and tragedy. These magnificent trees are among the last survivors of a forest that once covered much of western Madagascar. Centuries of deforestation have left them standing alone, like ancient guardians protecting memories of a vanished world. Their survival is testament to the baobab's incredible adaptability. These trees can live for over 1,000 years, growing slowly but steadily, storing water and nutrients that allow them to thrive in the harsh climate. The surrounding landscape adds to the avenue's drama. Rolling hills stretch endlessly in every direction, covered in golden grass that waves in the constant breeze. During the dry season, the grasslands turn the color of wheat, creating a golden carpet that contrasts beautifully with the baobab's dark trunks. Small villages dot the landscape, their traditional houses built from local materials that blend seamlessly with the natural environment. If this journey has already left you breathless, hit that subscribe button, we're only halfway through. Number 5. Tsingy de Bemaraha. In the heart of Madagascar's western wilderness, where limestone meets sky in impossible formations, the Tsingy de Bemaraha National Park presents one of the most alien landscapes on Earth. This 157,000-hectare labyrinth of razor-sharp limestone pinnacles, known locally as Tsingy, meaning walking on tiptoes, creates a stone forest so extraordinary it seems designed by alien architects. The Tsingy formations are the result of millions of years of erosion by tropical rains and underground rivers. What began as a flat limestone plateau has been carved into a maze of vertical pillars, some reaching heights of 70 meters, separated by deep canyons and hidden valleys. The result is a landscape that defies imagination, a forest of stone where navigation requires ropes and harnesses, where every step must be carefully calculated. The Grand Tsingy creates the most dramatic formations. Here, limestone needles rise like stone skyscrapers, their surfaces so sharp they can cut through leather. The formations create their own weather systems. The deep canyons remain cool and humid while the exposed pinnacles bake in the tropical sun. This creates unique microclimates where different species thrive in spaces just meters apart. What makes the Tsingy truly extraordinary is, honestly, the life that has adapted to this harsh environment. The limestone formations here harbor over 650 species of plants, many of which are found nowhere else on Earth. In the protected canyons, unique forests thrive, including species that have actually evolved to survive in the alkaline soil created by the limestone. The endemic Pachypodium baronii, with its bulbous trunk and spiny arms, grows directly from cracks in the rock, creating living sculptures that seem to merge stone and plant into one organism. The park's wildlife is equally remarkable. 11 species of lemurs live in the Tsingy, including the endangered Deccan sifaka, whose powerful legs allow it to leap between the sharp limestone pillars with incredible grace. The formations are home to over 100 species of birds, including the Madagascar fish eagle and the Madagascar teal, both endemic to the island. At night, the Tsingy becomes a different world, the sharp stones creating dramatic shadows under the moonlight, while nocturnal species emerge to hunt in the protected canyons. Number 4. Ankarana National Park. In northern Madagascar, where limestone meets legend, Ankarana National Park protects one of the most complex and beautiful underground worlds on Earth. This 182 square kilometer wilderness sits atop a massive limestone massif riddled with caves, underground rivers, and Tsingy formations that create a landscape where the boundary between surface and subterranean becomes beautifully blurred. The park's surface features the northern Tsingy formations, limestone pinnacles that rise like Gothic cathedrals from the forest floor. But unlike their cousins in Bamaraha, Ankarana's Tsingy are softened by vegetation, creating a landscape where stone and forest merge into one living sculpture. Massive baobab trees grow from cracks in the limestone, their roots somehow finding enough soil in the rocky crevices to support their enormous trunks. But Ankarana's true magic lies underground. The park contains over 100 kilometers of mapped cave systems, including some of the largest underground chambers in Africa. The Grotte des Crocodiles harbors a population of Nile crocodiles that have been isolated in underground pools for thousands of years, creating a unique ecosystem where these ancient reptiles have adapted to life in perpetual darkness. The cave systems are adorned with massive stalactites and stalagmites, creating underground cathedrals that really rival anything built by human hands. The park's surface waters are equally extraordinary. The Ankarana River disappears into the limestone, creating a series of underground waterways that emerge as springs throughout the park. These resurgences create oases of green in the dry landscape, where endemic fish species thrive in crystal-clear pools. The largest spring, known as the Source Secree, produces millions of liters of water daily, supporting a wetland ecosystem that attracts hundreds of species of birds. The park's wildlife has adapted to this unique environment in some really remarkable ways. The Ankarana sportive lemur, found nowhere else on Earth, has evolved to live in the limestone formations, using the rocky crevices as daytime roosts. The park harbors over 60 species of reptiles, including chameleons that have evolved to match the limestone's coloration perfectly. The endemic Ankarana leaf chameleon is so small, it can sit on your fingernail, yet it's perfectly adapted to life in the rocky landscape. Number 3. Tsingy de Namaroka. In the remote wilderness of northwestern Madagascar, where few humans have ever set foot, the Tsingy de Namaroka National Park protects one of the most pristine and dramatic Tsingy landscapes on Earth. This 212 square kilometer wilderness represents the perfect marriage of stone and forest, where limestone formations rise like ancient cathedrals from dense deciduous woodland. The Namaroka Tsingy formations are unique in their integration with the forest ecosystem. Unlike the more exposed Tsingy of Bamaraha, these limestone pinnacles are partially covered by vegetation, creating a landscape where stone and plant life merge into one living sculpture. Massive baobab trees grow from cracks in the limestone, their roots somehow finding enough soil in the rocky crevices to support their enormous trunks. The result is a forest of stone and living wood that seems to breathe with ancient life. The park's remoteness has preserved ecosystems that exist nowhere else on Earth. The Namaroka mouse lemur, discovered only in the 1990s, lives exclusively in this region, its enormous eyes adapted to navigate the complex limestone landscape at night. The park harbors populations of endangered species including the Madagascar big-headed turtle and the Madagascar tree boa, both of which have found refuge in the isolated pools and crevices of the Tsingy. The landscape's dramatic beauty changes throughout the day. At sunrise, mist rises from the limestone formations, creating an ethereal atmosphere where the stone pinnacles seem to float above the forest. The morning light catches the limestone's crystalline surface, making the entire landscape sparkle like a geological jewel. During the dry season, the deciduous forest loses its leaves, revealing the full drama of the Tsingy formations, Gothic spires of stone rising from a carpet of golden grass. The park's water systems are equally remarkable. Underground rivers flow through the limestone, emerging as springs that support unique ecosystems. The endemic Namaroka cichlid fish has evolved in these isolated pools, developing unique colorations and behaviors found nowhere else on Earth. The springs create oases of green in the dry landscape, where endemic palms and ferns thrive in the mineral-rich waters. What makes Namaroka truly extraordinary is its pristine condition. The park's remoteness has protected it from human interference, preserving ecosystems that function exactly as they have for millions of years. The night sounds here are pure Madagascar, the haunting calls of sportive lemurs echoing off the limestone formations, the rustle of leaf-tailed geckos in the canopy, and the distant splash of fish in hidden pools. Number 2. Lokobe National Park. On the island of Nosy Bay, off Madagascar's northwest coast, Lokobe National Park protects the last remnant of Sambirano rainforest, a unique ecosystem that exists nowhere else on Earth. This 740-hectare jewel represents one of Madagascar's most precious biological treasures, where endemic species thrive in a landscape that seems designed by nature's most artistic hand. The park's primary rainforest is a living cathedral of biodiversity. Massive hardwood trees, some over 200 years old, create a canopy so dense that walking through it feels like moving through a green underwater world. The forest architecture is extraordinary. Strangler figs create natural spiral staircases around their host trees, while epiphytes turn every trunk into a vertical garden. The very air seems alive with possibility, thick with the scent of flowering plants and the constant whisper of life. What makes Lokobe truly special is its endemic wildlife. The park harbors the northernmost population of black lemurs, whose dark fur and bright orange eyes create a striking contrast against the green canopy. The Lokobe mouse lemur, found nowhere else on Earth, represents one of the world's smallest primates, its enormous eyes adapted to navigate the complex forest at night. The park's chameleon populations include species so small they can sit on your fingernail, yet each is perfectly adapted to its specific microhabitat. The forest's plant life is equally extraordinary. Over 400 species of plants have been identified in this small area, with new species still being discovered regularly. The endemic Lokobe palm creates natural umbrellas in the understory, while carnivorous plants dot the forest floor like botanical aliens. During the flowering season, the forest explodes in colors. Orchids bloom in impossible hues, while the Madagascar periwinkle carpets the forest floor in pink and white. The park's coastal location adds another dimension to its beauty. The rainforest tumbles right to the water's edge, creating a perfect transition from terrestrial to marine ecosystems. The coastal forests are home to unique species adapted to the salt spray and sandy soils, including the endemic Nosy Bay gecko, whose brilliant green coloration makes it nearly invisible against the coastal vegetation. The park's small size concentrates its beauty into an almost overwhelming experience. Every step reveals new wonders: a chameleon no bigger than your thumb, an orchid blooming in impossible colors, or a lemur moving through the canopy like a dark shadow. The forest's sounds create a constant symphony: the calls of Madagascar bulbuls, the rustle of lemurs in the canopy, and the distant sound of waves breaking on the shore. In western Madagascar's dry, deciduous forests, where ancient baobabs stand like monuments to time itself, Karindi-Matea National Park protects one of the world's most remarkable ecosystems. This 72,200-hectare wilderness represents the perfect fusion of forest, wetland, and coastal environments, creating a landscape where Madagascar's full biological diversity is displayed in one magnificent setting. The park's centerpiece is the Karindi Forest, home to some of the largest and most ancient baobab trees on Earth. These giants, some over 1,000 years old, create natural cathedrals where light filters through their massive canopies in patterns that change throughout the day. The forest floor is carpeted with fallen baobab fruit, creating a seasonal feast that supports an incredible diversity of wildlife. During the dry season, the massive trees become living sculptures, their bare branches reaching toward the sky like prayers made visible. What makes Karindi truly extraordinary is its incredible concentration of endemic wildlife. The park harbors 8 species of lemurs, including the largest remaining population of the endangered Veros sifaka, whose white fur and piercing eyes make them look like forest spirits. The narrow-striped mongoose, found nowhere else on Earth, hunts through the forest floor like a miniature tiger, while the giant jumping rat, Madagascar's largest native rodent, emerges at night to feed on baobab seeds. The park's wetland systems are equally remarkable. The Karindi River creates a series of lakes and marshes that support Madagascar's largest waterbird populations. The Madagascar fish eagle, one of the world's rarest raptors, nests in the massive baobab trees overlooking the water, while Madagascar teal and red-billed teal feed in the shallow waters. During the rainy season, the wetlands become a paradise for water birds, with thousands of individuals creating a spectacle of wings and calls. The park's coastal component adds another layer of beauty. Where the forest meets the Mozambique Channel, pristine beaches stretch for kilometers, backed by coastal forest that harbors unique species adapted to the salt spray and sandy soils. The Madagascar plover, found nowhere else on Earth, nests on these beaches, while the waters offshore support populations of dolphins and seasonal visits from humpback whales. The park's seasonal transformations are dramatic. During the dry season, the deciduous forest loses its leaves, revealing the full architecture of the baobab trees, and creating a landscape of golden grass and sculptural trunks. The rainy season brings explosive growth. The forest canopy turns deep green, flowers bloom in impossible colors, and the wetlands fill with water and life. These seasonal changes create a landscape that seems to reinvent itself twice a year, each transformation revealing new aspects of its beauty. The park's night sounds are pure Madagascar, the haunting calls of mouse lemurs echoing through the baobab groves, the splash of crocodiles in the rivers, and the rustle of tenrecs in the leaf litter. The darkness transforms the forest into a different world, where nocturnal species emerge to hunt and feed, creating a parallel ecosystem that exists alongside the daytime world. Madagascar isn't just an island, it's a living laboratory where evolution has written its most creative poetry. From the haunting calls of Indri lemurs echoing through misty rainforests, to the ancient baobab trees standing like monuments to time itself, every corner of this extraordinary place tells a story of isolation, adaptation, and breathtaking beauty. These 12 wonders represent just a fraction of Madagascar's treasures, each one a testament to the incredible diversity that can emerge when nature is given the time and space to create. The island's biological isolation has produced wonders that exist nowhere else on Earth. Forests that sing with the voices of lemurs, stone formations that seem carved by alien hands, and wetlands where ancient species still thrive as they have for millions of years. But Madagascar's beauty goes beyond its famous wildlife. The landscapes themselves are masterpieces of natural architecture, where limestone pinnacles create Gothic cathedrals, where volcanic peaks catch clouds and create their own weather, and where ancient trees store entire ecosystems in their massive trunks. What makes Madagascar's wonders truly extraordinary is, honestly, their fragility. Many of these ecosystems exist in small, isolated patches, which makes them incredibly vulnerable to change. The silky sifakas of Marohegi, the fish eagles of Ankara Fonseca, and the ancient baobabs of Kirindi represent irreplaceable links to Madagascar's evolutionary past. Their survival depends on our understanding of their value and, our commitment to protecting the extraordinary natural heritage they represent. Standing in any of these places, surrounded by the sounds and sights of Madagascar's unique ecosystems, you're not just witnessing natural beauty, you're experiencing the results of one of evolution's greatest experiments. This is what our planet can create when given enough time, enough isolation, and enough freedom to explore every possible path of life. Madagascar reminds us that Earth is still full of wonders, still capable of surprising us, and still holding secrets just waiting to be discovered. If this journey amazed you, go ahead and subscribe and share it with someone who loves discovery. Some places you visit, others stay with you forever. Until the next destination, stay curious.